Alright you guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys my tips and tricks on how to build your manga collection. The tips I'm going to show you, they're either going to help you whether you're starting out, or whether you already got a collection, or you just want to pick up more manga and just want to figure out where to start. Either way, these tips are made to help you and guide you along the way. Now, I've been into anime like basically my whole life. My first anime was Naruto, and it just became a quick spiral from there. And I recently just started reading manga like 5 years ago, and then I decided to start collecting 3 years ago. And because I followed my own 30, 60, 90 rule, 90 to 100 rule, this is basically my manga collection that I built up in over 3 years. Starting off with my first tip, whenever you go out and get manga, or if you decide to buy it online, try to follow the 30, 60, and 90 to 100 rule. So what I mean by that is, when you buy a manga, depending on which manga it is, if you get a manga like shonen manga, for example, like this one, it usually comes at $10. So $10, $30, that's going to be like 3 volumes. $60, that's going to be 6 volumes. 90 to 100, that's going to be running at 9 to 10 volumes. Now, if you wasn't planning on getting like the regular shonen type of manga, there's something I call specialty mangas, which is like the oversized manga. Like for example, with Goodnight Pun Pun, this one runs you around $25. So obviously if you follow the 30, 60, 90 rule, you can get like one of these with 5 left over, or 2 of these, 2 to 3 of these depending on which manga it is. Or with the 90 to 100, you will be able to get around 4 or 5, 3 to 5 I should say. I often try to go as much as like 3 months out of a year. Usually with my ongoing series, they usually release 3 months at the latest volume. So at that time, I just plan out, save, and go out and get my manga that I need. And I just buy 3 manga. Sometimes I extend it to 40, and then vice versa with 60, 90 to 100. And the reason why I call it 90 to 100 is because getting just 9 volumes sometimes isn't enough. So you might want to push that 10 just to get even 10 volumes, especially if you're collecting like a long-lasting series like My Hero or Black Clover, or even Kobe Can't Communicate. The way I save is that, like for instance, if I'm planning on spending $60 at a store, I try to save at least $5 to $10 each pay period. I mean, it's not much, but it will stack up in 3 months. Alright, and here's my recommendations for each level of the saving budget. Now, if you are going out and getting $30, this is the manga I recommend you getting. I recommend getting Ayashimon. Ayashimon only has 3 volumes, and the only bad thing about this manga is that it ended so soon. Overall, the characters are good, the story is great. I highly recommend picking up Ayashimon. It's basically about a character who always wanted to be a manga character. So he's been basically training himself ever since the age of 6, and he's a teenager now, and he's broken. Like, he one punches everybody. He's basically like Saitama. He just worked out like crazy, and now he's super strong in the real world. Now he goes over towards a different world, becomes a mafia leader. Well, teams up with a mafia leader who takes her to another world. He's basically excited because he's starting his manga character life. If you never heard of Ayashimon, it was made by the same person that made Hell Paradise. So I highly recommend giving this a read and picking it up. Another manga that I highly suggest, and it might be a surprise, but Deadpool Samurai. It only has 2 volumes, and Deadpool as a manga character is something I never expected to be working so well. And only 2 volumes is a good laugh. It's literally Deadpool in the manga. There's nothing else I can explain from there. And if you was thinking about picking up any specialty mangas, this is what I recommend. I highly recommend these 2 one-shots by Tatsuki Fujimoto, Goodbye Eri, and also Look Back. These 2 one-shots was really good, really well done. Goodbye Eri I like a little bit more than Look Back, but you can get them both. They're both $13. It's going to be coming up $26, which is perfect for the $30 budget. So if you want a good one-shot, read Goodbye Eri and Look Back. Alright, and the manga I suggest to pick up for a $60 price range, unfortunately I do not have this manga, but I plan on getting it. It's called Samurai 8, and Samurai 8 was made by the same person that made Naruto. It currently has 5 volumes. It is a nice read. The world building is great, the characters are great, and the story is amazing. The bad part was that it got canceled very soon, so they rushed their ending. So it felt very rushed at the end, but other than that, it was still a good read from start to finish. I've read it online from like the very first chapter to the very end. It was honestly a good read, and I plan on picking that up. You guys should already know it is my #1 favorite, and that is Dan Da Dan. At the time of this video, Dan Da Dan has 6 volumes released. It is a perfect manga to pick up for a $60 price range. You can get all 6 current volumes right now, and if you've never heard of Dan Da Dan, please pick it up and you will not be disappointed. For the specialty manga that I recommend for a $60 price range is Rooster Fighter. Rooster Fighter is something that is, I consider it to be at least a little bit slept on. I mean, it's literally a chicken that has an anime backstory. It's something that has to be read, and it's currently 5 volumes at the time of this video, so I highly recommend picking up all 5 volumes. It's going to run just like $5 over the $60 budget, but believe me, for a Rooster Fighter, it's going to be money well spent. Alright you guys, so for the $90 to $100 range, the mangas I recommend are, in my opinion, very underrated. Like, I'm talking about Hitman Reborn, underrated. So the first manga I'm going to talk about, Sakamoto Days. To me, Sakamoto Days is very underrated. Like, this is a really good manga, has a great story, great characters, has everything you need for a good manga, but for some reason I don't see a lot of talk about this manga. So it's like, if you haven't seen my last video, I explained it, but Sakamoto, he is a hitman, and he used to be an assassin, but he slowed down, got a family, and he has a hit on his head, so he's trying to take that hit off so he can take care of his family, but he gained a lot of weight, but that's not stopping him from getting the hit off his head. I highly recommend picking up Sakamoto Days. There's 10 volumes of Sakamoto Days right now, perfect for a good $100 budget, and you don't have to get all 10 if you don't have to, but if you got the budget for it, I highly recommend getting all 10. Now the next one is, how I say, like, it's not viewed as often as it should, but I slept on this manga, I read it, I loved it, and it is My Hero Vigilantes. Now, My Hero Vigilantes was a great spin-off, and the fun part is that it's all canon. Like, everything in the story is all canon. It happened 2 years before we even got introduced to Midoriya, and it was honestly a good read. I love the story, I love the character. The main character is a well-written main character MC, and I highly recommend giving My Hero Academia Vigilantes a good read. If you have never heard of Vigilantes, or your friends have been telling you to read Vigilantes, this is your sign to stop what you're doing and read Vigilantes. Alright, so for the specialty manga, this one caught me by surprise because I wasn't expecting to be this deep into it, but it is Alice in Borderland. So Alice in Borderland is honestly one of the mangas that I picked up. Like, I only picked up the first 2 volumes, I read 2 volumes, and I immediately went back to the store. I got all 6 volumes at the time. Now there's 8 volumes, and this is $20 per volume. I highly recommend that if you give this manga a read, get all 8 of them. At the time of this video, there's 8 volumes, so get all 8 of them, because once you start at volume 1, you're not going to put it down. I promise you that much. So this basically takes place in modern day Tokyo, and the main character and his friends got basically isekai into a different world where it's post-apocalyptic, nobody's around, and they find out that they have to play these games in order to survive or live, and they only have a certain amount of days to live depending on what card they get. The premise of that story really makes a suspenseful manga, and honestly it made me just want to keep reading more and more. And like, right now they have a live action, and the live action does a really good job at adapting the manga. I would say the only thing that was like non-canon was like the first few episodes, but everything else was canon. They just added like a couple more scenes and people into different places, but other than that, they did a good job. So you can either watch the live action, or honestly I highly recommend pick up the manga because it does some good side stories that makes the world feel a little bit more deeper in a sense. Alright you guys, and my final tip, if you ever try getting a long-lasting series, like for example like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, My Hero, Black Clover, any of those 20 plus volumes, I would have to say my advice for that is get a little at a time. For example, if you're doing like a $30 budget, try using $10 to get one manga at a time, or two, stack it up and try to like plan out. That's one of the reasons why I didn't get like Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece. For one, I really want One Piece, but One Piece is a lot unless I want to get like the box set, but the box sets aren't really out for all the arcs. I literally just started 3 years ago. If I would have done it like back in the day, I would have gotten all the manga for it. Since I just started out, I didn't want to like break my bank, and I didn't even want to really focus on getting the big three. And I did focus on getting My Hero because I started off with My Hero, and then later on I got Black Clover, and then I also got Komi Can't Communicate. So for me, with my OCD, if I started with that one, I had to keep building it. So that's why my long-lasting series has only mainly just like 4 manga series. Like I said, just pick a little at a time, get each volume a little bit at a time, but also try to expand your horizons. And I appreciate you guys for watching the end of this video. So for a special thanks, I'm gonna give you guys my special recommendations all out of order. So for the first recommendation, either at any budget of what you get, even though I gave you guys a budget for each individual tier, this is my personal budget just to have inside your manga collection. I highly recommend for a manga collection, get Junji Ito. My favorite one is Tomy, but you can get Uzumaki or Gyo or any of his new works. But Tomy honestly was my favorite one. It's like the most creepiest, and honestly it's like a good storytelling for one of Junji Ito's. Even though Uzumaki was really good, I like Tomy's because it's like a bunch of short stories, and the short stories are very much more like a horror story type of deal. This manga is pure depression, but honestly I had to give a recommendation because it was such a good read, and that is Fire Punch. Fire Punch is Tatsuki Fujimoto's very first manga series before Chainsaw Man. If you ever thought Chainsaw Man was dark, Fire Punch makes Chainsaw Man looks like it belongs on Disney Channel. I highly recommend giving Fire Punch a read if you're into like deep, gory, and dark theology type of stuff. It plays on very well with the theme of revenge. Like it's very psychological, and honestly it's a good read, and I highly recommend having Fire Punch inside one of your manga as your manga collection. Alright guys, thank you for tuning into the video. I appreciate your love and support. Like, comment, subscribe below, and until then, y'all have a blessed day. See y'all next time.